Dionysus isn't just the god of wine. You see, he is the architect of divine psychosis. You have been told a lie, right? A sanitized fable of a jovial reveler draped in ivy, offering a golden cup of celebration. I am here to strip away that mask of marble and show you the primal terror that the ancient world truly feared. Whispering, before he was a statue, he was a shadow in the woods, a force of nature that did not bring joy, but total, irreversible madness. Hauntingly, to look upon him, well, it was to feel your identity dissolve into the dirt. Grandly, I want you to imagine the hills of ancient Greece, not as some sun-drenched paradise, but as a landscape of iron and deep, suffocating shadow. Intensely, the air here, it does not smell of sweet nectar. No, it is heavy with the scent of fermented earth and the sharp metallic tang of copper. Forebodingly, when you hear the beating of the drums in the distance, you see, it isn't an invitation to a party. Gravely, it is a warning that the boundary between man and beast is about to be erased. Solemnly, in this realm, the vine is not a gift, but a noose, and the cup, it is filled with a delirium that demands a sacrifice of flesh. Deeply, you might think you know the Olympians, but you are about to discover that some gods were never meant to be worshipped. I mean, they were meant to be survived. Epically, this is the dark truth of the twice-born god, a journey into the blackest corner of the Greek pantheon, where to find divinity is to lose your humanity entirely. Mystically, prepare yourself, for we are stepping beyond the light of the fire and into the original nightmare of the vine. Intrigued and contemplative, look at the images you've been fed for centuries. I mean, you likely see a man lounging on a tiger skin, a garland of ivy draped loosely around his brow, a soft, heavy-lidded smile playing on his lips. Scoffing slightly, this is the Dionysus of the Renaissance painters and the Enlightenment poets, a harmless patron of the feast, a lazy, bearded fellow whose only weapon is a cup of overflowing nectar. Gravely, actually, we have sanitized him. Darkly, we've turned him into a mere party-goer, a mascot for the vineyard. But I am here to tell you, right now, that this version of the god is a lie. It is a beautiful mask, crafted over thousands of years, to hide a face that is far too terrifying to behold. In the era of what we call civilized mythology, the world simply forgot what the ancients truly feared. You see, the Greeks did not see a jolly drunkard when they whispered his name. Epic. They saw a force of nature that could not be tamed by the laws of man. If you look at the maps of the old world, you'll notice something peculiar. While Athena and Zeus held the center of the city, the temples of Dionysus were often built outside the city walls. They were kept in the wild places, the untamed margins of the world. The Greeks did this because they knew that what he brought was too volatile for the hearth. They understood, that you do not invite a wildfire into your home and expect the roof to remain standing. I want you to reconsider the gift of the vine. We think of wine as a luxury, a social lubricant. But in the original rituals, it was something else entirely. I see it not as a beverage, but as a biological weapon. It was a substance designed to dissolve the ego, to melt away the constraints of logic and the armor of the human will. It was a chemical invasion that stripped the worshipper of their humanity, leaving behind a raw, primal animal, ready to be molded by the god's whims.
The mask of the jovial drunkard is slipping, and beneath it lies a predator of the soul. The Greeks didn't worship him to have a good time, right? No, They worshipped him so that he wouldn't destroy them. Solemnly, they knew that his mercy was just as dangerous as his rage. But to understand why this god is so obsessed with the breaking of the mind, we have to look past the wine and into the blood. We have to look at the horrific circumstances of how he came to be. Grandly and hauntingly, because the story of his birth is not one of divine love, but of a celestial crime that would leave the heavens stained forever. Long before the first vine ever twisted its way out of the dark earth, Dionysus had another name. You see, he was Zagreus, a child of celestial light born into a world of shadows. He was meant to inherit the very throne of heaven, a prince of the cosmos, but his existence was an affront to the old powers that once ruled the world. Darkly, the Titans, those ancient, hulking architects of chaos, could not let this child live. Quietly, they didn't come for him with thunder or spears, right? Instead, they approached with a cruelty far more subtle. Captivatingly, they brought toys. A spinning top to mesmerize him, a golden rattle to catch his ear, and a mirror. Just a simple silver surface where the young god could see his own divine reflection. With building tension, as Zagreus stared into that mirror, enchanted by his own image, the Titans emerged from the darkness. Gravely, they fell upon him like starving wolves. Grimly, this was not a quick execution. It was a feast of raw divinity. Painfully, they tore the child apart limb from limb, their teeth sinking into celestial flesh until nothing was left but blood-soaked earth and a single frantic pulse. Epically, when Zeus finally descended in a storm of white-hot rage, he found only a massacre. Awestruck, but amidst the gore, there was a miracle. Softly, the heart of the child remained, still beating, still stubborn. Solemnly, what followed was not a birth, but an act of divine necromancy. Intense, Zeus took that raw, dripping muscle and sewed it into the flesh of his own thigh, creating a second womb of blood and bone to house the remnant of his son. Dionysus was born again, yes, but he was born as a composite of trauma. You must understand that the madness he carries is not a gift, or just some whim of the vine. It is the cellular memory of being devoured. It is the scream of a child who looked into a mirror and saw his own murderers reflected in his eyes. And yet, this resurrected god did not return seeking peace. He returned seeking a way to share that fractured reality with the rest of the world, to a gift that would blur the lines between the living and the dead. But if you think his rebirth was the end of the tragedy, you haven't seen the trail of broken minds he left in his wake as he traveled across the ancient world. I see him now, standing before the high gates of Thebes, not as a king, you see, but as a contagion. When Dionysus arrives at your door, he does not offer a simple toast. No, he offers a poison for the soul that burns away the very concept of civilization itself. He unleashes a primal fever, a divine madness that turns the blood into liquid fire. Don't look upon anyone. Is to feel the walls of your own mind begin to crumble. King Pentheus watched from his battlements, his heart hardened by a pride that would eventually be his undoing, right? He saw only a charlatan, a boy god with long hair and a soft smile. He mocked the divinity before him, completely unaware that he was inviting a nightmare into his house. While the king sought to maintain order through iron and law, Dionysus was already whispering to the women of the city, calling them into the dark, tangled woods of Mount Cithaeron. Among them was Agave, the king's own mother. Eerily, under the god's influence, she and the other Maenads became something no longer human. They did not just dance, they hunted. They abandoned their homes and their children, their eyes glazed with a terrifying, holy light. And when Pentheus, driven by his own voyeuristic curiosity, followed them into the shadows to spy on their forbidden rites, well, he found himself caught in the center of the sporagmos. The sporagmos is not a word for the faint of heart, believe me. It is the ritual tearing of living flesh, limb from bloody limb, performed with bare hands in a state of ecstatic frenzy. I want you to imagine the scene. The king, stripped of his crown, pleading for mercy as his own kin surround him. They do not see a sun. They do not see a ruler. In their divine hallucination, they see a mountain lion, a beast to be sacrificed to their god. Agave was the first to reach him. With a strength born of pure, unadulterated madness, she gripped her son and tore his head from his shoulders. She carried it back to the city like a trophy, her face smeared with gore, boasting to anyone who would listen of the great predator she had slain with her bare hands. The true horror of Dionysus is not the violence itself, you see, but the moment the veil is lifted. Sorrowfully, as the wine-dark fog cleared from Agave's mind, she did not find the head of a lion in her grasp. She found the face of her son staring back at her, his eyes frozen in an eternal scream of betrayal. This is the ultimate betrayal of the mind by the divine, a god who does not just kill you, but makes you the architect of your own soul's destruction. But even as Thebes lay broken under the weight of this tragedy, the god was far from finished. For there is a darker truth hidden within his cult, one that suggests this madness was never meant to be a punishment, but a preparation for something far more ancient. You may think this ancient carnage is merely a relic of a dead religion, a ghost story whispered in the ruins of a fallen city. But you see, I believe the truth is far more unsettling. Dionysus was never truly a god of the vineyard or the harvest. He was the personification of the animalistic rage that hides behind your own civilized face. The ancients called him the outside god. Philosophical, not because he hailed from a foreign land, right? But because he exists outside the boundaries of human reason. He is the shadow in the corner of the mind, the whisper that tells you to break the rules, to shed your identity, and to return to the blood and the dirt. He is the God who lives inside us all, waiting for that single fleeting moment when we finally surrender our control. I see his influence everywhere, even now. His wine is still being poured today, though the chalice has changed. You see it whenever a peaceful crowd transforms into a mindless, violent mob. You feel it when a man loses himself to his darkest impulses, waking up to find his life in the ruins with no memory left.
Dionysus did not vanish when the temples fell. He simply changed his tactics. The architect of psychosis never left. He merely waited for us to become arrogant enough to believe we had conquered our own nature. He waited for us to forget his name, so he could strike again, hiding in plain sight within the chaos of the modern world. So, the next time you feel that sudden, inexplicable urge to let go, to join the frenzy, or to lose yourself in the roar of the crowd, remember who is really pouring the drink. If you have enjoyed this journey into the darker side of the divine, well, consider joining me at Mythic Echoes by subscribing. Tell me in the comments, do you believe we have truly tamed the beast within? Or is the outside god just waiting for his next invitation? Until the next echo fades, stay vigilant. Some gods are better left forgotten.